Peace, family. So I'm back with another one. Today what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to my chosen ones about how we have to stop creating prison relationships. We are creating and investing and putting time into prison relationships. So what I mean by prison relationships is you have a lot of females who are behind bars and then a lot of males who are behind bars. And then some of them kind of tend to have this saying, they gay for the stay. So they establish relationships inside the prison to kind of help them with their emotional states because they haven't mastered their own. So when you take this concept, right, that these certain energies would not be engaging with each other if it wasn't for the environment and the circumstances. Now, the environment and the circumstances just give it extra influence. These beings have already been in that weird space eternally, so I don't want to ignore that fact. But the environment plays a huge factor on it. So we also got to realize that if you in these Western societies, you are in prison. You in prison. I'm in prison. We are in prison. So then a lot of us are out here roaming and creating relationships, doing things based off of ships that we just got out of, or just exploring, because when you young to teenager, you're not really taught or shown, so you kind of just gradually go into it, and the adults are just okay with it, you know what I mean? So we have to understand that we have to get back to our core selves and then figuring out this war situation that we're in the middle of, which we already are. I just try not to put too many segments into one. So coming to the understanding that a lot of your ships you have created have been prison-based relationships. And of course I have to start with me to give an example, because I wouldn't be in this position if I hadn't put my own self in prison relationships, And I mean spiritually. We on a spiritual level. I've been through prison. I didn't have to go through all that weird shit that people did, That's why I'm able to talk in front of you guys now. Some of us just stood solider in different areas. But when it comes to being a spiritual being, having a human experience, god damn it, I fell into the trap as well too. And what's crazy is, it's not really falling into a trap. It's more so about trusting the universe and then willing to learn from your experiences. Trusting the universe, because you don't have to trust that being. You don't have to know them from Adam and Eve, or you could know them and they already showed you that you shouldn't trust them, but now you're giving them another opportunity, when really it's you giving the universe another opportunity to show you something about yourself. So it's like a lot of things that we do, we can pinpoint the finger outwardly. But the bigger picture is we have to point at ourselves. So for me, it's like when I was finding myself in these prison-ish relationships, for one, I wasn't taught or explained how to be a brother. I wasn't shown how to be or taught how to be a cousin. I didn't know what a friend was. I didn't know a lot of these things, but I went through the motions as if I knew what they were. And one way I know that I didn't know what they was, because as I got older, I started feeling guilty for certain things. And it's like, oh shit, that's what I was supposed to have been doing as a big brother. It's like after you go through certain places and transitions, you realize, oh, you didn't do that the best way you could have, or you wasn't moving in your most righteous light, because we weren't taught and shown these things. Most of us that's my age, 37 on down, it's a couple years up, but mostly us on down, it's all TV and technology. All TV and technology. Even though I'm good without the TV, that was still my program. So I had to understand that I created a lot of relationships and held on to a lot of relationships built on that prison mentality. So, and I say these things, right, because for one, I wasn't taught how to be a man. So in that concept alone, I wasn't taught that, okay, while I'm in middle school and high school and I'm chasing women around or girls around doing all this other young witchy stuff that we do, I should have been focused on purpose. I should have been learning more about how to be more of a man. I shouldn't have been giving so much energy in the other direction, because what happens is, as a man, once you miss that window and you like 15, 20 years later, it's like, oh shit, now you're trying to start back from a place where you could have been, but instead of using that as a woulda, coulda, shoulda, you just say, hey, this is my starting ground now. I'm going to use that as experience, so that way you don't have a position where you're living in regret. But a lot of my friendships, not all of them, but a lot of them, you know, was based off of the environment. You know, whichever ones I felt I was more drawn to the most, or we resonated the most with, that's who I usually vibe with. Or the ones that came around my light and then they vibe with me, and then we just kind of click from there. But I also understand, like, as far as for my guy friends, like, some of them I would have never been engaging with if it wasn't for the environment or for other beings, because we didn't have a whole lot in common. And then all my other peers and friends that I was really cool with, that I hung out with on a regular basis, we was only good at entertaining. That's all we did. Either we outside playing, doing sports, ripping and running, going all over the place, hitting the malls, doing something, or it's like clubbing, hopping, barring, fighting. It's all these other things that has to do with entertaining, as we all worked separate jobs to make money. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like we're all forced, and we are forced into this prison system program, because you have a social and you have, you know, your birth certificate and all these things. So these are ways that they clock us as numbers as well too. But then you have the opposite sex. For me, it's women, but then you got women who deal with women. You know, it's for men dealing with women in this prison system structure, men not being taught how to be men and stand in these certain positions, and then women not being taught how to be women and stand in these positions. It makes sense for all of us to be bumping heads in this area, you know? At least until we got to this point in day and age and time. Because now we at a place to where there's too much information out here. So if you was a witchy man and you didn't know how to be not witchy, now is the time for you to learn other not witchy ways. And the same thing for women. If you always use, you know, you led with your masculine energy, or you just use a lot of witchy tactics, it's not no excuses no more for still being witchy and spiteful. You know what I mean? So a lot of these things go out the window. But the trick comes in at when we are basing things off our proximity, we're basing things off our survival mode decisions and how well based we are situated in life, and we also have this structure, this invisible structure that's around us, that's confining us. A lot of days you wouldn't be waking up concerning or chasing money if you didn't have to, if they didn't say, all right, well, you came out this womb, you're in this part of the world, so now your first thing to do is chase a dollar bill. That wouldn't be your first thing. So a lot of us have to understand that when you wake up frustrated and you going through these different transitions or midway part throughout the day or in the evening time, you're in a prison structure system. So it makes sense for you to do that. When I was in the physical system, and it was my first time on my first defense, and I had to do 3 years, it was like some days I'll wake up and it'd be like, yo, I cannot believe I'm in prison. You know, as I'm looking at the metal mirror that is not even a fucking mirror, and just being like, damn, I cannot believe I'm even in this place right now. You know what I'm saying? Not saying like I wasn't reckless, but still, like, I'd never been caught before. So for me, it was like, shit, you in here for real this time. And you in here with people who are really doing a whole lot more time than you are. You know? So when I'm able to, like, make these correlations, it helps me understand, like, we are at a place of day and age right now where there's been so many prison-based relationships built where it's based off of emotion instead of structure and building and growing. You know, this being knowing who they are and being positioned, and this being knowing who they are in position, and then them two building together. But then you also got the other dynamic where you got this person who's already up here and this person down here. So it's all these catch-22 scenarios, right? No one wants to do it by themselves. But the system is so witchy, it's forcing us to be in a mental space, a spiritual space of being like, Females is like, I don't want no men around me to lead. Men is like, I don't want no women around me. So you have to think about, like, outside of COVID, outside of this other programming that we're going through that's making us all want to stay away from each other, you know, it's a lot of different recipes that's been put in place to make sure that we all stay the fuck away from each other. If I stay away from women, there is no procreating. If women stay away from men, there is no procreating. It shuts down the whole operation. It's a very simple way to depopulate and to control the numbers. You know what I mean? So with us being the sheep and being the test rats and lab dummies and all these things, you have to understand, like, you as a female have a structure and a build that you're supposed to follow. Man has a certain structure that he's supposed to follow. We are all thrown into some witchy sauce right now. So we're all in a place of trying to figure out how. It's too late for man to go back to the old man days, and it's too late for the women to go back to the old women ways. But what we can do is figure out how to blend the two worlds together. You know what I mean? That's where the hardest part is coming at, is trying to blend the two worlds together, because a lot of women meet good men or righteous men or men moving in a better light, but they skip over them because they aren't as financially stable, even though they are much more richer in other places to infinity and beyond this realm. You know what I mean? And then you got men who have the women on the other side who are just like, it's too combativeness and too spiteful and every other witchy sauce to even be tampered with, you know? And we see that on all levels, from men who got money witchy and not witchy, and men who don't have money witchy and not witchy. So that's what I be trying to get to, the concept of people understanding that we are in a spiritual prison right now as far as this Western society. Now, of course, the God and the Creator is almighty and powerful and stronger, so you're always going to have some kind of angle or method shown to you on how to maneuver within the midst of whatever your environment is. But you still have to understand the structure, and you still have to be willing to restructure certain things, you know? Because the way it's set up right now is like, men with the big bag don't want a woman with the big bag. Women with the big bag want a man with the big bag, but they don't want that way. And then it's like, you got the men down here who are growing and grinding upward, but these ones aren't tampering with them because they aren't fully situated. So then when these ones get here, they don't want any parts to do with this one here because they didn't see the value in them while they were grinding. So that's what I be trying to just emphasize, that we in a spiritual prison. So if you are not trying to reprocess and restructure how you view relationships, then you will be trapped and you will be fucking over a lot of people. You know, it's not just people fucking us over. We can fuck people over too by us not being aware and continuously making, you know, certain movements that aren't, you know, productive with our walk of life or with the beings around us, you know? We want to make sure we helping and reaching as many people as possible, but we also have to make sure we know our roles and our positions as well too, because you're not going to be able to help but so many people with a broke leg, you know? So it's getting into these concepts, and it's a lot of spells that we have to break in order to restructure a lot of these things, but it has to start from somewhere, you know what I mean? So for me, I'm to a place where it's like, I dealt with so many witchy women that, like, if I don't feel, fuck seeing. If I don't feel, because women have a hard time at making men feel something that is intuitively and that knows what it means, because there's a lot of people going through the motions because they saw it on TV or somebody else do it, but that's not the same thing that lifts someone else's spirit or brings them joy on the inside. You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, I have to feel it, and it has to come with time as well too. It's not going to be just one posture or gesture you're going to do, and it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to melt, because I don't do no melting and I don't do no falling in love. You know, I don't do any of that. In my world, I am love, and then if anything, I would grow with the being who I'm with, not fall. I don't want to fall anywhere. Every time I'm down, I want to get the fuck up unless I'm asleep. And even when I'm sleeping, I wake up, it's like, oh shit, I got to get up. I'm in prison. I got to hurry up and figure these numbers out. I got to figure this out. I got to get over here. I got to get over there. it's like all these things start churning and running, and then I'm like, slow down, Nick, slow down. You gotta take a breath. You got woosah, all right? Creator Most High, Creator Most High. Soon as it starts beaming and Willie beaming over on that side, it slowly settles everything. Yes, you still got the same thing on hand to figure out, but it settles the inside for you to be able to process better. So as you go through life and you experience more and more witchy relationships, you have to be willing to remove yourself from certain things and be willing to, you gotta be more willing to, as a woman, find the right leader so you have a better understanding of what you are giving yourself to and what you are following. Men, you have to stay on purpose, you know what I'm saying? I would suggest don't open no doors unless you all the way organized and straight, or the right being came along willing to ride and join your purpose with you. If they are not joining your purpose as a leader with you, then you venturing off over there is pulling you away from where you're supposed to be going anyways. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to hinder your whole process. You building and working on your purpose, and then you meet somebody over here, if their thing that they have doing doesn't correspond or go hand in hand to where you two can join worlds, these ones kind of pull away. Like this one, what they do, it takes away from your world, and what you do takes away from their world. That's too much friction in between there, and there's not enough time to build and grow in between there. Yeah, work out for the man because he get the fuck away from you, but you as a female, you know, you're not adding any value where you're supposed to be adding that, and that is going to create some friction later on down the road. But that also comes with us understanding we have been created and been formulating these prison mind spellbound relationships, you know what I'm saying, where you're more concerned with whether somebody's cheating opposed from whether you're being the most righteous woman you could possibly be. You're more concerned with who's in somebody's phone opposed from are you doing the best you can do in your position. Like, I never understood that. Like, I never was the one who had to roam through my girl's phone or my person's phone or to do all of these things, you know what I'm saying? And if I felt like I had to do that, I felt like a sissy. Like, that's just not masculine of men. Females, y'all can do that thing, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's because y'all are emotional, but still, that also shows that you are using a witchy playbook, because you shouldn't be with a leader that you don't trust already anyways. You know what I mean? Y'all gotta realize y'all putting y'all lives in people's hands, and y'all are very lightly about it. It's as lightly as people get in cars and ride with somebody. When you get in a car and ride with somebody, your life is in their hands. But because we have been doing this so much that it just becomes normal until the passenger moves on to their next journey and the driver is still here. We do this every day. We do this all the time. So we just got to be mindful of these things, you know what I mean? But I ain't want to run it up too long. Tapping everything down low. Peace and love to the kings and queens.